Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson.
And I'm Haley Dudley.
And welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 16 of Danny Phantom, Lucky in Love. And in this episode, Danny seems to finally get together with Paulina. Officially, at least. Kind of, sort of-ish. Well, what happens is that in the beginning of the episode, Danny, Sam, and Tucker are at a water park, but while they're there, the Johnny 13's shadow suddenly attacks with no Johnny 13 in sight. As such, Danny has to go ghost and fight it, even managing to flush it down a drain. But when he transforms back into his human form, Paulina seemingly sees him transform. And while Danny is worried, she says that she'll actually keep it a secret, and actually starts coming on to Danny a bit. Which, while he is not against, he's also still a little cautious of. But he kind of, like, all that caution gets thrown to the wind when the next day when they're at school, when Johnny 13's shadow attacks again. Afterwards, she exclaims that they're dating, which Danny again is actually very much for, because as we've seen in Parental Bonding and pretty much many other episodes, he's pined for her. Mm-hmm. Like, he knows that she's popular shallow girl, but
yeah, but like that popularity though.
and that's exactly what happens too when they start dating, so to speak. Pretty much everyone starts treating Danny better because now he's technically cool enough to do all these other things, like join an A-list club where he's given a hall pass that the hall monitor can stamp, and if the hall monitor stamps enough times, he gets a frozen yogurt. He has a nerd to do all of his homework for him. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, one of the other popular guys, because there wasn't enough room to have more than to keep him, he's just thrown out. And now he's stuck to hanging out with Sam and Tucker. It's just really funny too. Yeah. And on top of that, with Paulina dating Danny, her token sidekick, so to speak, this vapid airhead named Star, is now available. So Tucker tries to go in and make his move, and it turns out she's actually been expecting this, but she's still a popular girl in high school, so she ends up treating him like dirt, having him carry all her stuff and so forth. Meanwhile, Sam is just stuck with Quan. And yeah, that's the other football. That's the other
jock that got kicked out.
Yeah, and he was when we've seen him before. I think I call him Jake Quan or whatever, or Jake. I don't know. I thought it was Jake Chan, but his name is Quan. His name is Quan. That is the name. I actually reveal his name in this episode. The bottom line, pretty much, Sam and Tucker are just having the worst time of their lives, as Quan is just too happy for Sam, and Star is just too demanding for Tucker. But Danny still seems to be just having the time of his life, as Paulina is giving him attention. He's doing stuff for her. They seem to be very happy. She seems like everything is going on. But during their date at a bowling alley, when they step outside to make out, Johnny 13 finally shows up, and he tells Danny to get away from his girl, which is confusing until Paulina starts glowing, and it's revealed that she's actually been possessed the whole time by Johnny's girlfriend, Kitten. As such, Danny's just wondering what the heck's going on, when Kitten sees that Danny's realizing that Danny now knows, she jumps back into Paulina's body and starts putting the moves on him again, which in turn just gets Johnny even angrier and causes him to sick his shadow on Danny. And while Danny's manages to fend it off with help from Tucker, who managed to get away from Star for a bit, he wants answers, so he brings Kitten back to the Fenton Works and asks what the heck's going on. And so she explains that ever since the last adventure, when he was trying to get Kitten to possess Jazz, he actually wound up grabbing something from the Fenton Works, this little handheld portal device that he hooked up to his bike, which when he activates it actually opens up a ghost portal that allows him to enter and exit the ghost zone whenever he wants. And since Kitten was stuck in the ghost zone the last time, now she can freely explore it. And they both seem to be having a good time, except the entire time they were exploring, Johnny was looking at other girls. The entire time. Like, whenever there was a pretty girl walking by, he would look at them over Kitten.
So blatantly.
And yeah, it obviously got on her nerves, to the point where he was so distracted they drove through a meat truck.
Yeah, Kitten had turned the bike, so it was actually able to pass through the truck. Otherwise, they would have crashed again.
Yeah, well, then they're ghosts, so they're not even. They're not,
Yeah, but still, like they died in a crash, and then he's just going to crash the bike again because he's staring at another woman. Oh my goodness, I would be so offended.
Well, she also got a little sausage link scarf because of that.
Oh yeah.
Bottom line, that was enough for her, and so she finally just ditched him. And in an attempt to make him jealous, she actually tracked down Danny and her original intention was to possess Sam because she thought that they were an item. But just before she possessed Sam, Paulina pushed her out of the way, and Sam stormed off, resulting in Kitten taking over Paulina's body. But Kitten was able to adjust because Danny has feelings for her too. And of course she thinks, well, it's all fine, everything's good. Johnny's angry, you're popular now, you're dating the girl of your dreams, everybody wins. But Danny says, not really. Paulina's just being used here. She doesn't have a say in the matter, which I think is nice. But he ultimately is stuck going along with it because Kitten reveals that if he doesn't go along with this, she'll spill the beans. And since the last episode made it so that Danny is now public enemy number 1, he can't let his secret get out or else the entire town will be after him. So he has to play along.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, he does tell Sam and Tucker, who managed to ditch their their friends, let's call them, as
acquaintances.
Yeah, let's just say that. That's the nice thing to say.
I mean, at this point, I think that at that point, I think Quan was, on his last legs with Sam after he got her kicked out of her favorite library.
In a goth poetry slam.
Yep, he read a poem about how all the fluffy clouds look like footballs.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. But they managed to actually ditch them because Quan and Star wound up getting together, as they thought, well, we may not be as popular as the other cool kids, we're still more popular than you guys. And while they try to break them off, and while they try to let them go gently, they immediately just like, bye, and just run off. It's like, well, they took it rather well. No, they're in denial.
I learned about that when I went to this one goth poetry slam.
I think it was actually at the library.
Oh, whatever.
Well, either way, that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, as I was saying, Danny goes to them because he's trying to get Kitten away from him. He wants to try. He can't because he doesn't want, because again, it is with Paulina, that's not with her consent, and so they realize they need Johnny's help. So Danny goes into the ghost zone and actually just begs Johnny to take Kitten back, and Johnny agrees because earlier during the fight he finally said, "Fine, you know what, you want her, you can have her," and he just left.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they managed to work out a plan where Johnny and Danny will end up fighting. While Danny and Kitten are on a date, and the plan is basically Danny just fights Johnny so much, pretty much just, and so brutally that Kitten will then wind up going back to that Kitten, feeling sorry for Johnny, will realize that she still cares about him.
Yeah, like Danny was standing over Johnny about like pretending that he was going to like totally annihilate Johnny, and that's what kind of snapped her out of it. It was like, hey, no, and then she flew out of Paulina and tackled Danny.
Yeah. As such, Danny says that you two are pretty much made for each other, which that is something that they established like in the last episode, because while he is kind of a shallow dick, he does care about Kitten. So they run off. So she gets back on his bike. They fly back into the ghost zone, but Danny follows after them, and to make sure they don't come back through, he blasts the little device on his bike, which causes Johnny to get so mad. It's like, hey, that wasn't the deal.
And Kitten didn't know there was a deal.
She's like, wait, what deal? But at this point, she can't really do anything because the portal device is gone. So Danny manages to fly back out, and he finds Paulina as she's waking up. And something I forgot to mention is that at the beginning of this episode actually has the town of Amity Park give Danny a nickname after he became a public menace. They call him Invisibill. It's so dumb.
I don't understand what made them decide. There's this kid flying around. He has like supernatural abilities. Let's call him Invisibill.
I don't know. I guess it was corny enough? I don't know.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So bottom line, Paulina recognizes Danny from when he saved her in the last episode, and so it's revealed that ever since he saved her, she's had a thing for him, but not human Danny. If anything, the next day
there's a shrine to Danny Phantom.
Invisible.
Invisible. That's right. She calls him Invisible.
It even says it in her locker. Paulina and Invisible.
I mean, I guess good on her that he doesn't really exist.
Well, even Danny laments that she likes him, but the wrong him.
Yeah.
Because when she sees him the next time, she's like, "Why are you even talking to me?" Showing that she clearly doesn't remember her time when she was possessed. Mm-hmm. Which is both kind of a good thing and a bad thing for Danny, as now that he's no longer dating Paulina, he's kicked out of the A-list club, and they say that after school they're going to beat him up for all of his stuff, for all the stuff that he...
Basically, he's back to where he started.
Which is actually which is actually below the bottom rung of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Because the designated nerd that was supposed to do his homework, he's apparently cooler than Danny.
Mm-hmm. Like, cool enough, the nerd is walking by and tells him, "Don't even talk to me," type of thing. And
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. With Johnny with Johnny back. Well, that's pretty much just where the episode ends. With So, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was pretty good. I find it hilarious the extreme they take being the part of the popular kids or the cool kids, like how much that it changes your entire career at school. Because like they had the teacher letting him go after he was stopped in the hall or letting Danny go after he was stopped in the hall because he was part of the cool kids now.
Yeah,
it's like.
Yeah, that was like happened. What happened? Like that was when Johnny Shaw attacked him in school.
Mm-hmm.
Danny was supposed to be apparently clapping erasers in a room, but because he was fighting Johnny 13's shadow, he wasn't there. So Lancer asks, "Why weren't you there?" Paulina says they're dating. He's like, "Oh, well, in that case, Tucker, you do it. You're not dating someone out of your league."
Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty funny. Like it seems so weird that but then Tucker and Sam, as they're going off, and they're, like, totally hating being involved with these people in every way. Just, like, go back to leaving us alone.
It's pretty much just a mutual hate on both ends. Like, the popular kids don't like them. They don't like the popular kid.
With Quan and Star, because they kind of, like, they pretend, at least, to like it, because with Star in Tucker's case, Star gets whatever she wants because she tells Tucker to do something, Tucker has to do it. With Sam, Quan is just such an innocent little naive flower.
He's the one that's doing everything. He's the one that's like he's just a happy little. He's a happy little ray of sunshine.
He's a happy little duckling floating in a pond. She's the reptile sitting off to the side, ready to eat him.
Speaking of dark reptiles, I thought that here's my thoughts on the episode. I think the whole thing was just a fun ride.
Yeah,
like, the entire thing was just funny. There was a serious part of it, like with when Danny says Paulina doesn't have a choice in it, which you could easily say is like something close to consent in this case, because when he learns that Kitten's possessing Paulina, he's not for it at all. Like, if he wants to date Paulina on his terms, but he wants it to be mutual, not have it be a trick or forcing it. But beyond that, the entire episode is just hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't like a super serious episode, but I really enjoyed that.
Yes, like going back to the first, like in the beginning at the water park, Danny and Tucker are wearing normal wearing normal swimming attire. Like Danny has a sleeveless shirt and trunks. Tucker a similar case. Sam has her own one-piece swimsuit, which is a pink swimsuit, but she
has a vampire cape,
and she has like a black hat with a veil on it, and sunglasses. Oh crap!
Sorry, you guys are sliding all.
Sorry about that. Anyway, Sam's attire, yeah.
Yeah, she was totally like the vampire that went to the beach that day. But I really appreciate how she walked, but also because she would like always walk like this if she was going somewhere. She would throw her cape out before she went. Oh my gosh, it was fantastic.
And it's not just that. In the beginning, as we get this, as when Danny joins the A-list club, so to speak, we just get a montage of all the happy times he is spending with Paulina, but at the same time we get the same sequence with Tucker, Sam, and Quan, and it's just it's so funny because it's so dumb. It's so hilarious.
Tucker, Quan, and Sam are skipping through a field of flowers. Quan is super happy. Tucker's throwing his hand in the wind. And Sam looks like she would rather be getting surgery.
It's just hilarious. The entire episode is just kind of like this too. In fact, that even during that montage, the box ghost attacks Danny and Paulina, and Danny fights the box ghost, and just pauses in the middle of fighting to take a lick of ice cream that he and Paulina are sharing. It's hilarious.
I have to say though, I thought it was interesting, like when they were out bowling, when Paulina and Danny were out bowling, and she was getting nothing but gutter balls, and
sorry about that.
Sorry, as I was saying, so Paulina and Danny are in the bowling alley, and Paulina's throwing nothing but gutter balls and has not scored once, and she's starting to feel a little bit down about it. And so she asked Danny, maybe you want to give me a little invisible help? Which sounds kind of creepy, now that I say it.
Yeah. Oh, God!
Yeah, it just hit you, didn't it?
I'm sorry, yeah.
It sounds really creepy.
It's not... you know that scene in Ghostbusters where that one ghost seems to give Ray seems to give Ray some. Imagine that, but with Paulina and Danny.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't.
Okay.
Just
moving on.
What she actually meant. What she actually meant.
And so at first, Danny is like, "But that would be cheating, and that's wrong." You know, stereotypical hero answer.
Yeah.
But then Paulina's like, please. And then he, gives in, goes ghost, turns invisible, flies into the lane, and then carries her ball down the lane and knocks out all the pins.
Which makes me wonder why no one noticed that it suddenly went from wobbly to just straight to the...
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking, he should just have rolled that. At least it wouldn't look like he's cheating.
Yeah. Hell, he could have gone invisible and then just, give it a fast push.
Just keep it straight.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that he was willing to compromise, cheating is okay.
Because the hot girl said that she could. And that's it. And again, the whole episode's just kind of layered with humor like that. Just kind of even doing, even with Johnny. And I think this is something that I think becomes common later on in the episode. This is the first example of Danny actually being friendly with one of his rogues. In this case, he goes to Johnny, and they both work together to organize this plan to get Kitten back together with Johnny. But at the same time, they're still not friends, still, so to speak.
But I feel like that just showcases Danny's inherent cleverness when it comes to dealing with ghosts. He's not really one to say, kill them all. He's more of well, crap.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of his whole thing anyway, because he's using his parents' technology for some of the stuff. He has a thermos that captures ghosts. He can't really kill them.
But see, I feel like it makes sense for him to, go for the team up, because that was the, most non-violent, no one gets hurt situation.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Okay.
I just realized this actually wasn't the first time this happened, as the last time we saw that was with Walker in prison. But I think it's a different setup in this case, because in that case, they all had a common enemy in Walker. In this case, Danny just wanted Kitten off his back.
Yeah, I mean, she also was, possessing Paulina and, was planning on staying possessing Paulina and just never letting Paulina exist again.
I think that was... Yeah, I think she would have been okay with that, too. I can just imagine them on their wedding day. Danny's just can you leave Paulina that? No, not
yet. I just would hate 20 years into that marriage, she makes up with Johnny, she leaves Paulina, and Paulina's like, what's going on?
Why aren't I pretty anymore?
Last I remember, I was in high school.
Well, let's see. For starters, we have a daughter named Janine. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
But that is kind of another thing.
Hooray for dark humor.
Yay! But again, that also kind of shows that Danny is that nice a guy too, because he is not for this at all. Like, he likes Paulina and he wants to date her, but not at the expense of her free will. Like, he's like the instant he learns that what Kitten's doing, he wants her to hit the road, but the only reason they keep it going is because she blackmails him with the information of his secret identity, which is a good leveler, so to speak. But on the whole episode was just a fun ride. It was great. It was hilarious in its execution. It had a lot of funny jokes. The setup, while dark, actually could execute a lot of humor, especially with Danny, Sam, and Tucker just suffering in their respective situations. It's just really, and I even like seeing that how the popular kids when they are kind of jostled. Like Dash is still kind of the typical jock.
I always love those episodes where like they start out where the characters start out like in one place, they go through all of this stuff to come back to the start again.
Exactly. What's actually kind of funny too is that I guess you could also say that one of the reasons they don't like Danny and Co is because they're just popular kids. They're not allowed to like them, even though we see that they aren't. Well, at least Quan isn't that bad, because Quan's just a great big ball of sunshine, but because he's playing football, he's more popular than them, so he doesn't want to hang out, so he shouldn't be hanging out with them, and he's just enough of a doofus to buy into that. Star is so vapid that she doesn't care, and even then when she was dating the loser crowd, she was using him as help, and Dash just accepts Danny, well, with resistance, so to speak.
He says pal, but he doesn't mean it.
He called him a jerk before he corrected himself.
Yeah, it's more of, okay, you're popular now and social convictions or social standards say that I have to be nice to you, so
I will.
Buddy!
Yeah, in fact, he actually is very happy when Danny's no longer dating Paulina. Like, because now the universe is complete. Now the universe is back.
All is well again.
Yep. So yeah, on the whole, but yeah, on the whole, it was a fun ride. It was just a fun ride. It did have a nice moral center with Danny being reluctant. It had a good story. It had a good story. I liked seeing more of the comedic stuff you can get with from the villains. I liked the situations. The comedy was just very well timed and just was hilarious. On the whole, just a very funny episode.
It was great. I agree.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm Samuel Johnson.
And I'm Haley Dudley.
And I'll see you next week. Take care.